thought I would hop on here and do a live. I don't know, I just felt like I randomly needed to tonight. I've been really active on social media lately and interacting with a lot of people and just seeing what a lot of people are feeling and holding on to. So yeah, if you don't know me, I'm Sammy. I'm a nervous system regulation and mindset coach and shadow alchemy guide. And today I'm talking about why you still feel stuck after therapy, meds, and healing work. Maybe you've done all the work. You've been in therapy. You've done the mindset stuff. You know how you want to show up. You know how you want to respond in the moment. And you still don't follow through that way. You still react in ways that you're not proud of. I'm going to fix this lighting real quick because I kind of forgot about that part. So let me fix this lighting and then we're going to jump into why you're still stuck, even though you've been going to therapy and you've been doing the healing work and all of the things. And yeah, just give me 1 second and we will get going. If I can get, there we go, my ring light to work. Okay, awesome. So if you've done the therapy and you've tried the different approaches, you've tried the different alternative healing methods, maybe even medication, let's go this way a little bit, and you still feel stuck, overwhelmed, or like you keep crashing, then I need you to hear this. You're not broken, okay? Not broken at all in the slightest bit. And you didn't miss something. Does that hit for you? Like you've done the work, but something still isn't clicking. So I've been there. I was in therapy. I was on 10 different medications and I still didn't feel okay at all. And I want to be clear about something. Those things can absolutely help people. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying that they don't. But for me, it wasn't the full picture. Because even with all of that, in the moment, my body was still reacting. Hi, I'm Sammy. I'd still get triggered. I'd still spiral. And I'd still feel overwhelmed in my body. And then I would sit there after, like, why do I keep doing these things? This isn't how I want to show up. Hi, everyone. So have you ever felt like that? Like you knew better, but your body just didn't follow through. It didn't do the things you wanted it to. And it got to a point where you couldn't trust yourself anymore. So here's what I realized. This isn't about whether therapy or medication works or doesn't work. It's about if your body still feels unsafe, that nothing is going to actually stick. You can't outthink, outjournal, or outprocess a system that's stuck in survival mode. And I know that can be really frustrating to hear, but does it also make a little bit of sense why you can know all of the things and still react in ways that you don't want to? Still not be able to follow through and do the things that you want to do? Because what most people do is they try to fix themselves. And they try to fix themselves from that same place of being overwhelmed. So it becomes try another tool, go deeper, do more healing. And now you've just added more pressure to a system that's already maxed out. And then what happens? You don't get the result that you expected. And now it reinforces that something must be wrong with you. Oh, I forgot. Give me 1 second and I'll get back to that. Alexa, play. There you go. That's better. I wanted music in the background. So what actually changed things for me wasn't doing more. It was doing things differently. So, number one, I stopped trying to fix everything all at once. The urgency of, I need to heal. I need to figure this out. I need to stop feeling like this. That alone was keeping my system activated. So I had to slow that down. And have you ever noticed that the more you try to force yourself out of something, the worse it actually feels? When, especially like too, when you're trying to force yourself into something, like being motivated, it just doesn't work. You feel less motivated and more frustrated because you're trying to force it. So number two was I learned how to work with my body, not just my mind. And this was one of the hugest parts for me because I had all the awareness. I knew the mindset stuff. My dad listened to Tony Robbins. I knew the things that I should think and that the stories created my reality and all of those things. But my body was still running the show. So I started focusing on things like slowing my breath, making my exhale longer than my inhale. That automatically signals to your brain that you are safe. I also started noticing when I was getting activated. I would start noticing what I was feeling in my body when I went into these triggered moments. Because if we can notice it in our body before it hits our mind, that's when we can actually start controlling the situation. That's before we slip into survival. So when we start focusing on noticing those things, it's really helpful. Another thing was not pushing through when my mind was clearly overwhelmed. And I'm not talking about doing this perfectly. I'm talking about catching it. Even 5% earlier than you did before. And letting yourself know that it's okay to feel whatever the fuck you're feeling. That's how this really shifts. Does that make sense? So, number 3 was I started questioning my beliefs and identity. And this is where things really, really unlocked. Because we don't just react to what's happening, we react to what we believe it means. We react to what we assign to it. And most of us are walking around believing things we never actually questioned. As humans, we delete, distort, and generalize so much with our language and our thinking. So we start believing things like, this is just who I am, or I'll always be like this, or I'm not good enough, or I can't change. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, where did I even learn this about myself? Because when you start questioning that, you start breaking the pattern at the root. And that's where you're really going to break through. So for me, it ended up being a combination of mind, body, and soul healing. Really going deep. I explored different approaches and I found what worked for me. And I stopped trying to force myself into things that didn't. I stopped just following what everyone said, that you had to go to a psychiatrist and a therapist and be on these meds and do it this way. But the biggest key was getting out of survival mode. Because once my system started feeling safer, everything else actually started to land. And I started to trust myself again. And I want to be real with you. This wasn't overnight. This took consistency. But one day I realized something. That thing that used to take me out for hours or days, yeah, I totally agree. People generalize, they assume, and our realities are as unique as our fingerprints. We can go through the exact same thing and experience it entirely different. So when we're generalizing things, we're really assuming a lot, and just also, too, we've got to think about the fact that so many people have their own issues and bullshit to get through. 9 times out of 10, it's not about us at all. It's really about them. But we've generalized this or assigned this meaning to something, and that's why it actually affects us and triggers us. I didn't read the whole message because it stopped. My breaking messages come in and out. I don't really understand what you're trying to say either. So, I talk fast. I'm sorry if that is confusing for some people. That's just how I am. And I'm definitely happy to slow down and explain something to you if you don't get it. But yeah, I talk kind of fast, and I'm working on slowing down a bit so people can understand it better. But yeah, and also if you don't get what I'm saying, it just might not entirely be for you either. But anyway, one day I realized something. I realized that the thing that used to take me out for hours or for days, I could move through it in minutes now. And that really changes everything, because life doesn't suddenly become perfect. You just stop being controlled by your reactions and start being able to trust yourself again. And something else I want to say is that a lot of people are trying to fix themselves, but they're still seeing themselves as broken. For one, you don't need to be fixed. But for two, if you're identifying as broken, every time something doesn't work, it reinforces that belief. But what if there's nothing wrong with you? What if your system just adapted? Your system just adapted to what it went through, and no one ever taught you how to come out of it. Because if you can shift your belief and start believing that, you can stop fighting yourself. And that's when things actually start to change. So if you've been listening to this and you're like, yeah, this is me, I would actually really love to hear from you. What's something that you feel like you've tried that just hasn't worked the way that you thought it would? And if you want help figuring out what's missing for you specifically, you can reach out to me, because this is the stuff I talk about, and here is the work that I do. And the biggest thing to remember from everything that I've said today is that you don't need more pressure. You need the right foundation. You need safety so that all of the rest of the stuff actually sticks and actually does what it's meant to. So often we just want to get to a different point. We want to move further. We want to be in a different place. But we haven't built the capacity to actually have those things yet. We haven't built the capacity to hold those things. So many people say they want a different life, or they want a better life, or they want to be healed. But they're not willing to put in the work that it takes to get those things. And they're not willing to give up that identity. Because this is the thing, most of us have started to identify with those things. With what happened to us. With what we've dealt with our diagnoses. We believe that that is who we are, that is who we will always be, and that controls our reality. It controls who we can be, what we're allowed to do, where we're allowed to go, what we're allowed to have. But those things aren't who you are. They're just what society has taught you to identify with. They're what society has taught you that you need to be, that you have to hold on to. And that's not the case. Your past, whatever happened to you, whatever diagnosis you have, that's not who you are. The struggles that you've had to heal from the trauma that you've been through that you never asked for, you're broken, you always mess up, that's not your identity. That's not who you are. But until you stop identifying with that, you're going to repeat those patterns. So you really have to work on shifting your identity. But before you shift your identity, you have to get out of survival. Because as long as you're in survival, you're not going to be able to trust yourself. When you're in survival mode, your mind is not online. See, here's the thing. Your brain was not made to make you happy. It wasn't made to give you a life that you want. That's not your brain's job. Your brain's job is to help you survive. It's to keep you alive. So, when we're in survival, that thing that makes us different from animals, that, awareness that we have of things where we're able to process things and have conscious thoughts about things, that goes offline. And we slip into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We slip into survival mode. And we're not able to think clearly. We're not able to come up with as creative of solutions or even a half-assed decent solution half the time. I remember the first time this was explained to me, it was like if a bunch of logs started rolling and everybody's just running, the smart person would just go to the right and get out of the way of all the logs rolling rather than just getting trampled by the logs, right? But we're in survival. We're not having that smart thinking. That logical thinking is not online because our brain's worried about surviving. So until we get out of survival mode, choice isn't actually a thing. You're not choosing to act the way that you're acting in those moments. You're repeating a pattern. You're reacting. And every time you do, you're breaking your trust with yourself. So, you got to get out of survival. We got to start teaching ourselves that it is safe to feel whatever we're feeling. Because 9 times out of 10, when we slip into survival, we're feeling something that we're really just associating with a past experience. We're feeling an emotion, and it's bringing us back to an experience that we've had before. Something happened, or someone said something or did something, and it brings that back up for us. And when that happens, we shift into survival. We're responding to what happened then, not what's actually happening in this moment. So, if you're ready to get out of survival, hit me up because this is the work I do. But that's all for tonight. And yeah, got so much love for all of you. I cannot wait to get to know more of you and to really see where your life goes, how much you grow, and how much you heal. Because I know it's possible. It's amazing how much everything can change if you just give it the chance to. Bye, guys.